I hope you're doing well today. I appreciate you joining me. We're going to be looking at one of the kings of Judah today, named Asa. Going to be looking at his prayer as he cries out to the Lord. Our hymn is called Blessed is the Nation.
Blessed is the nation where the Lord hath fixed his gracious throne. There he reveals his heavenly word and calls their tribes his own. His life within cannot survey the spacious world behold. He wore the soul of equal clay and knows our feeble mold. Things are not rescued by the force of armies from the grave, nor speed nor courage of a horse can the bold riders take. Lord, let our hearts in thee rejoice, and bless us from thy throne. For we have made thy word our choice, and trust thy grace alone.
We're looking in Second Chronicles today. Yesterday, as we looked at the death of Jezebel, we are firmly in the time of the divided kingdom. So if you're not familiar with that time frame, in Kings, you go back and forth between the southern and the northern tribes. You go back and forth between Judah down south and Israel up north. But with Chronicles, you follow pretty much Judah, except for when they might do something that affects the other. And so here in 2 Chronicles 14, you have Asa, and Asa is reigning in Judah. Asa is usually considered to be a very good king, and he does a lot of good, but towards the end, things don't go well. That's not where we're looking today. Today we're looking at when he cries out to the Lord. And so he reigns in Judah. He did what was good and right in the eyes of the Lord his God, until he didn't. He removes the altars of the foreign gods, all these different things. He built fortified cities, talks about his army. But at a certain point, the Ethiopians come up against him with 1,000,000 men and 300 chariots. And Asa went out against him, and they set the troops in battle array in the valley of Zephathah at Marishah. And Asa cried out to the Lord his God and said, Lord, it is nothing for you to help, whether with many or with those who have no power. Help us, O Lord our God, for we rest on you. And in your name we go against this multitude. O Lord, you are our God. Do not let man prevail against you. Heard a fella, or saw it online, he was referencing this prayer. And he made a good point. When we think about prayers, sometimes we think the longer the better. I believe the Lord spoke to such things when he talked about they think they will be heard for their many words. And so here with Asa's prayer we see something, and one of the things we see is its brevity. When they came to Jesus and they said, Lord, teach us to pray, I'm sure they were expecting something a whole lot longer than the Lord's Prayer. And yet, the Lord's Prayer was very brief, as he taught them. Asa's prayer is very brief. Brief prayers are acceptable if they are done in the manner that the Lord so chooses, namely, it's a question of the heart. And so that's one thing I wanted to mention. It's very brief, but also it's very plain. There's not a lot of flowery language. Sometimes, again, we have the idea when we speak to the Lord, we have to speak to him, and sometimes people think, oh, you got to speak in King James language and these and thous and things like that. And it's no. And other times people think you have to have all sorts of different ways to identify the Lord. You know, and it's just for one thing, it starts becoming rote after a while, meaningless, and you don't have to have those things. And that when we look at our passage, he just cried out to the Lord. And he said what he said. And as he spoke, he was obviously very humble, recognizing this would be nothing for God to help them. It's not going to be hard if God will act it. Nothing is hard for God. And so in this prayer, one of the other things I wanted to mention is it's very specific. The Ethiopians are coming up against them, and they put their trust in the Lord as they went against this multitude. Sometimes prayers can get so generic, and it's okay sometimes you have to be more general. You don't have to mention every sick person by name. Remember, just think about Jerusalem. How many sick people did they have when the numbers started getting to 3, 4, 5,000? It's okay to just pray for the sick. The Lord knows who they are. You don't have to mention every person who's traveling. The Lord knows who they are. You don't have to mention, you might also think about, you don't have to mention every sin. Lord, please be merciful to me, a sinner. The Lord knows. The Lord knows. And so there are times where you can be more general, but then there are other times where you can be very specific. This was a very specific circumstance. And so they were asking for help. And so there's time to be general. There's a time to be specific as well. Don't be afraid of specifically asking for something in prayer. And of course, in all things, we recognize the Lord. We recognize the Lord's power. And woe unto those who do not recognize the Lord's authority and power. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good day. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our daily praise.